Okay, and we're live once again. Good morning, everyone. Pardon me, I'm having coffee, but it's been a very, very, very productive morning that started way early. And I can prove it by way of the post I put up with a screenshot of the weather app. Boy, howdy, 22 degrees this morning, 5:32. It felt like one. And you know what the one is? You know, the whole read between the lines? Yeah, Mother Nature said, "Hey, you're number one, Jim. That's all right. Jack the Wonder Dog had to do what he had to do, and by golly, I'm there to help." So there we are with the stream. So I'm going to put that back up to the top where it belongs so we can follow along. And again, it's like it's Monday. Can you believe it? The 29th of December, 2025. Just about done with this thing. My goodness gracious. So let me just fix this. A lot of today for your old buddy Jimbo is a lot of backstage maintenance, cleanup, setting the stage for all that is to come for 2026, which frankly isn't anything new. It's just going to be I'm shining up the spokes. That's it. Shining up the spokes and doing the thing. That's it. So, because again, like I told you folks, as you go into the new year, if I can make a suggestion for something that worked for me very well in 2025 or the back end of 2025 where we are, is to find your focal points, right? And to have one is fantastic. If your life works in one thing, that's great. Me, I've got three, and because I had to hit all three of those pillars for myself to be able to um, stay focused and engaged, but in those three areas that truly matter. And if as long as I'm doing those, then I'm in good shape. And those three are once again the book, which is the one product that I have. So the product, the service, and the project. The book, of course, Toys or Totems. That's my one product that I'm blatantly selling you straight out. The service is the Evergreen Content Package, which with that, there's going to be some products associated with that service because again the service itself is a very exclusive thing. I've gotten smart in that as far as like I don't care to go willy-nilly knocking on doors, cold calling, blah blah. Not interested in that. Terrible way to live. If you haven't ever tried that, no. So I've just restructured, reframed it to where, yeah, one of the things with it right now ties into the project, which is the virtual stump, which is my what I consider my civic duty as a person who has been inside of the we'll call it mainstream media space as far as providing news and information to my local community. And with that, the virtual stump is a totally free service. It's not a service, that's the wrong word. It is a totally free outreach that is, again, it connects candidates and voters together in a way that neither have to deal with a paywall or anything else. It's simple. If you're a candidate, we just put the camera on and say who you are, what you're voting for, and why someone should vote for you. And that's your stepping stone. That's your first look. And it's on me to get the word out about the virtual stump, which I will lean on all of you to help me in this organic spread and growth of content, which that is fixing to come into a whole new overdrive level with information and entertainment stuffs that will help in that whole cause because again an informed community is a connected community, and once we do hop over the hump of the new year being after the first, and I got to look at the calendar again. I guess that Monday, what is that Monday, let me look. That Monday after the first is January the 5th. January the 5th is where we're going to start focusing in on the statewide outreach. Because why? Well, one thing is, I know that a lot of smaller communities don't necessarily have a nut job like me to help in such a way. So we're going to start with like contested races around the state to get those areas serviced and such. Not probably not going to go like the full line that I want that I'm doing in Boone County to where it's because it's home, right? But everybody in Boone County, as far as all candidates on the ballot, excuse me, all of those, even those running unopposed, I want them there. Why? Because it's our community, and it's to me a very important thing for everybody to know who everyone is, right? Absolutely, Jim. And so that's what I'm doing. And good morning, Gar. And good morning, Damien. and everybody. Good, happy. There we go. So there we go. So that's the three. And I recommend, again, before you get to the new year and before you go down that path of creating, resolutions, start looking at it as systems. If you know what you want, your goal, if you will, your end goal, well, pull back away from the idea of just a goal. Now, if you know what your destination is, let's start mapping out that system for the journey to get you there. And again, it's one of those hangups that we're kind of taught ish, sort of, along the way in growing up and learning things. We got to have a goal. You do. You can have a goal all day long. But if you don't have a system in place to get you the steps to that goal, you're going to wind up frustrated and burned out and mad and all over the place. And then you get scattered and unfocused. And that sucks. And I've done plenty of that over the years. And that's why everything exists as it does. And this morning has really been a lot of great backstage cleanup work, if you will. Like I had to clean up some YouTube stuff, get rid of some things that were in the way and just messing up the waters, all of that stuff. So it's all happening in progress. That'll be my day today, along with a few other things that need to be done. But again, I'm just cleaning out my closet as we move into 2026, and that's about it. Yeah, so it's been I guess I actually rolled out of the bed probably around 4:30 this morning, and I really enjoy that. Side note, the sinus thing still kind of there, comes and goes. Weirdest little buggy thing, to where it's like everything like right now is cool, but at any given moment, bang, it could snap and the drainage starts in the back of the throat and it gets sore back there for no good damn reason. And yeah, and then get a little rumbly in the tumbly. So if the show gets abbreviated this morning, I'm sure you will understand. Some things you just don't need to know. To have a tombstone where it's already got you there. I guess I had a reconnect thing. So if I stuttered out, apologies. But should be okay. But you never know what the internet's going to do, especially at times such as this. What else we got here? There we go. So anyway, lots of things happening, going on, doing, and all that. And so we're getting there. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I hope you will take the time to clear out your closet before the new year starts. And it's like right around the corner. If you saw in the picture with Flip this morning, which, by the way, Leslie, I did tell him. And he's like really grateful that you said hi to him, because sometimes he feels lonely. But yeah, the video's hanging. Yeah, see, again, there's nothing I can do with that. I don't. Yeah, the fever last. See, I haven't had fever yet, but I don't know. I'm kind of feeling a little funky right now with that. But that's one of the good things about doing things like this. We're not breathing on each other. No mask required. Um, but anyway, yeah, so feeling a little funny. So I make no promises when it comes to what's going to happen with the video feed this morning. I don't know why it's glitching like it is. Everything on my end is perfectly fine. But yeah, it's wanting to glitch a little, and is what it is. Again, I've got the transmitter, but I don't have the airwaves. That's beyond my control. So anyway, what else is going on? Oh, something fun that came in yesterday. Again, Flip is going to stay and play. Don't worry. But for myself, I had picked up. It was so funny because like being here at home, and this is the home office for real now, and the business office and all that. And I'm a big fan of Scott Adams and Dilbert, and just came in yesterday, the 2026 Dilbert calendar, which is really fun. I mean, it's like, again, I am a huge fan of Scott Adams, not just Dilbert, but also the other works that he's put out that I guess you would say are in the self-help genre and business genres. Really good stuff. One day I'm going to put together a video suggestion thing for that. But this is really cool because it's like on the front side of the comics, you get like classic Dilbert. But then on the back side of each day, you get a little bit more spicier version of Dilbert, because I guess it was 2023, Scott Adams found himself getting canceled, like so many did, for a comment that was taken completely out of context. But not even just out of context, but it was just people reacting in that stupid way that people have done now over the past 5 years and got offended over things that lighten up, but people can't do that anymore. Anyway, but it was cool because at the end of the day, as he got canceled, because people like just went the full on attack on everything Scott Adams. And that, of course, included Dilbert. And Dilbert at one time was the most successful comic strip in newspapers around the country, right? But they attacked him, so Dilbert started getting canceled everywhere. And so that left his publisher like, what the hell we do? And it worked out being a total blessing for Scott because then he got total control of the Dilbert property again. So now that everything that he wants to do with Dilbert, he can. It's also everything is out of his pocket. But like he says himself, he ain't hurting. So he's just doing what he does. Yeah, there you go. So worst is over and I can relax with it. Maybe so. Yeah. Uh-huh. There we go. All right. So I guess the video is doing its okay thing right now. But again, like I said, today is a day of getting things cleaned up, touching base after Christmas with some potential clients and stuff like that. And again, just a lot of maintenance work. And it's cool because, again, the way I'm feeling right now, I do not need to be running these cold streets. Again, the weekend was gorgeous. If you get a chance, I do encourage you to go back to my Facebook feed and take a look at the videos I put up from Silver Dollar City from this past Saturday, it was. Just lovely. 6 million lights, all aglow. And the parade was fun. And the people were great. There's so many. It's like, from what I understand, because when we got there, gosh, I don't know. It was like 5:30 or something. So the sun had already set. And again, the lights were all aglow. And there was this massive stream of people leaving the park already. And I mean a lot, a whole lot. And one of the ladies who worked there, she was just kind of standing to the side. And I walked up to her. I said, wow, busy, huh? She said, yeah, 30,000 people today. 30,000. That's awesome. I think it's safe to say because here recently, Branson's been getting some national media push. So it's nice to see that that still has people, working. Yeah, Bloom County was great. Is Bloom County still being published? Um, it's so funny. I've got to. I don't know. I go like totally squirrel when I check the comments all the while in the mid statement. So it looks like I'm just spasticking all over the place. Maybe I am. Hence why, for business and personal sake, I created 3 pillars to keep me focused. But yeah, it was great though. I mean, the turnout was fantastic. People were great. The employees there were wore out. I felt so bad for them, man, because they were running on fumes, and they still had, well, like I said, we got there at 5:30, so and they still had to go until 10, so they were running on fumes, man. They got thumped, but um, yep. So anyway, it's been nuts. It's been a great weekend. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, of course, the thermometer decided to just take a dump. But it's winter in the Ozarks, man. You never know what you're gonna get. But that big, well, it's funny because like from this time yesterday, we're looking at a hardcore with the wind chill. You're looking at like a 50-degree dump, and it's like, whoa. It is what it is, though. We all survive. Thankfully, we have indoor heating and stuff, so we're good. Thankfully. Mm-mm-mm. See if there's anything on here that I can even bother sharing with you. Now, the main thing is I just want to encourage folks as you're getting to this new year, don't find yourself falling back into the trap of setting a resolution that probably will be over with by January 15th. So, if I can make any kind of suggestion and not trying to be disparaging to any of the gyms in the area or wherever you are, don't just hop into a gym membership because if you're not really going to do a lifestyle change, well, you're going to find yourself in a bad situation for you and for them both. So commit to it if you want to commit to it, but make sure you're truly committed to it and not just going along with that first of the year trend bubble that's going to burst thing. Just do yourself a favor. Do them a favor. Everybody wins when you do that because and a lot of those contracts, they're pretty hard to get out of, or you've got a cancellation fee and things like that. But again, I'm not saying don't do it, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Just make sure you're ready to commit. Me personally, I don't believe I could ever be a gym person. I just don't think so. Um, it's just not my thing. Mainly because I like being home, and the idea of having to leave my home to go somewhere else to use machinery or whatever, that's just not a part of me. That may change one day. I may be like, you know what? I need this in my life. I need to leave the house to go do it. But honestly, any and everything I could want or need to do those things I've got. And I'm more focusing myself getting into the habit of more calisthenic type workout stuff because I've got to get serious about this type 2 thing and getting all those A1C levels and all that leveled out because I'm not taking any drugs for it. And I won't, period. Tried it once, did not like it. The side effects were something that told me that this is not a good thing. And so I went 2 days in on the metformin stuff. I know everybody says it's fine and dandy. It wasn't fine and dandy for me. So I'm like, no. So I do supplements. Again, this is not medical advice, as you have to say on the interwebs now. But using like the cinnamon with chromium supplements, along with a few others along the way, like ashwagandha, which is great. I love that stuff. When I first got introduced to that a few years back, that stuff is really cool because it just levels you out, man, with no noticeable side effects whatsoever other than you chill out. Cool. And then there's also the magnesium glycinate. I think that's how you say that. Anyway, Alicia is like the queen of this stuff. She knows it. She researches all of it. She's there, right? So she's got me hooked up, and as long as I'm doing my part, it works really well. Problem is, I don't always do my part properly. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, I do have the clothes rack when it comes to like we've got a treadmill that we got in 2020, and then we have like this ellipse bike thingy with the handles and the walking stuffs, and that's Alicia's. That was a birthday present for her years back. That is officially the clothes rack right now. I think the treadmill is too, to be honest with you. But anyway, may work that out. But the main thing is just working the body. I know in my youth, whenever I was more serious about certain things, um, again, it's like I was doing yoga without knowing I was doing yoga and a lot of things because I mainly focused on stretching. But again, that was also a gym that was probably a good 50 pounds lighter. Very, very agile and on my feet back in those days. No, I can still scoot, but I can't scoot like I used to. But I want to work on that. And I encourage everyone else to do that. I mean, again, our diets are crap on the whole. Now, if you're one of these people who have really dug in and you're like a Whole Foods type person, not the brand, but the food types, that's great. I do my best to like just cook at home as much as possible and avoid as much as the process of like, to try to do as much stuff from scratch. But again, the laziness over all the years has definitely compounded into habits that just have to be broken. Not the It is so funny too because when you think about it, us Gen Xers, I think we're probably the last generation that viewed or still view maybe fast food is like that luxury treat type thing, like maybe once a week or even once a month type thing, versus 3 squares a day through drive-throughs, which is just wild to see. Just like going to a convenience store. Remember when you go to the convenience store and there'd just be one section of the sodas and such? You'd have your Coke and your Pepsi, a couple of the offshoots of those brands. But now it's just wall to wall, and then add in the energy drinks, which, man, again, they've never worked for me. I've tried like, I'll be like tired driving on the road, and so I'll get a Red Bull, only to discover that it did not give me energy of whatsoever, but it gave me a horrible taste. So yeah, and then of course the Irish car bombs used the Red Bull and whatever booze they put with that. I don't remember what it is. It was disgusting, though. I know that much. No. But yeah, I just never got into those things, and they're just not good for you. It's just like diet drinks. I had this discussion with my doctor, God rest his soul, Roy Lee, back in 2020 when he first diagnosed me with the whole type 2 thing. And like diet drinks are like horrid, horrid, horrid. They're 0 calorie and all this other pointless nonsense. But the thing is, though, is the sweeteners in there, well, your body doesn't know the difference. So it's still, raging havoc and hell on your pancreas and in turn your liver. So if you think you're getting by doing the diet drinks, you're not. If you're in this type 2, type 1 category. Yeah, a lot of great propaganda to push those products. The better alternative, the more healthy, the calorie free. Well, the way I understand how calories are counted and work, and you come up with 0 from something's not right there. You didn't erase matter, but apparently they think you can. Mm. I want to see that spider monkey tail, Gar. I really do. You got to show that sometime. But it's a good thing that you do sleep on your tail. I can imagine sleeping on your back when you have a tail would be tremendously uncomfortable. It really would. But I guess that's why dogs don't do it, nor cats. They're like, no, that sucks. Don't do it. Yeah. Huh. I like it when we open our perspective on things. It's fun. Yeah. Say again, be careful with the zeros. I mean, like the Gatorade Zero, Coke Zero, Diet Dr. Pepper Zero, Dr. Pepper Zero, whatever the zeros are, because again, it's like I guess in some ways it's better than the high fructose corn syrup as the main sweetener, but it does still hit the body. It does. It tricks the body into doing things, and it's sketchy. But anyway, I ain't telling anybody how to live because I still enjoy. But what I try to do now, is I do like to find like, and it's so funny because we all call it this, and the age of cultural appropriation being just so taboo, but to find like the Mexican Coke and those other bottled drinks from south of the border that come in that cost a lot more than they should. But like you get the bottled Coke or a bottled Dr. Pepper, and it still has sugar in it instead of the high fructose corn syrup. I can't see sugar being more damaging than what we've learned about high fructose corn syrup. So if I have my options, I go with the sugar version. But normally I try not to. I will like succumb to like a diet drink versus the regular full throttle high fructose corn syrup ones. But it is what it is. Well, there you go. Hey, Thomas, good morning, buddy. I hope you're feeling better too. I was sharing with the audience how it's like it kind of sucks on my end a little bit this morning from my end. You see what I did there? But pugs are different though. Pugs laying on their back, I think they're designed for that, because their tails are like their faces. They're just pugged in, I don't know. I don't know. 22 minutes in the 8 o'clock hour on a Monday, December the 29th. It's just cold. It's saying it's 20 degrees out there where I am and windy. So I wonder, let's take a look. Let's see what the thermometer app says. What do we got here? There it is. Also, hey, if you're not following or downloaded the StormTrack 360 app and you're here in the region, you should, because Brandon's done a lot of updates on there. So check that out when you get a chance. Oh, it's 19 according to the phone, but it feels like 2, where it felt like 1 earlier. So that's better, right? That's progress. So the temp went down, but the feels like went up. Sorcery. Shooting for a high of 32 today, 45 tomorrow, then back in the 50s and dipping up or tipping up to the 60s by the net weekend. Either way it goes, it's cold and flu season weather for sure, with all the ups and downs of things. So bundle up if you go out, but also be ready to bust out some sunscreen just in case. But I'm not seeing any precipitation in the forecast, so that's a win. I'll take it. And yep, yeah, that sucks. I hate that you're not feeling any better, Thomas, because yeah, this little creepy crawly thing is just creeping and crawling, and bleh, bleh, terrible. But and again, the way it comes and its ebbs and flows, you're like, hey, I'm doing better. Oh God, I gotta run. Thankfully, that hasn't happened this morning. But yeah, get yourself prepped and prepared. I've been checking my email this morning, and a couple books I'll recommend to you. If you are like feeling a little out of sorts, I know I recommend books all the time, right? Why? Because you should read. It's good for you. You know who I'm talking to. But it's like do the reading stuff. But like one book that was really great that I found out about probably in 19, way back in 18, no, back in 2018 or 20, I had a Gar the Ghoul moment there. 2018 or 2019, I had first heard about MJ DeMarco's The Millionaire Fastlane. And I'd heard about it before, but didn't give it much thought because, again, titles that sound gimmicky, hooky, guru-like, I avoid, or I did avoid. I'm a little more open-minded nowadays because titles can be a little misleading because who they're attempting to reach. But and then his follow-up to that was the one I actually got into was Unscripted. Fantastic. Read or listen. Long, very thick book. very long audio book, but a great mind shift and perspective thing. And then the other one would be Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a where it's basically a modern iteration of Stoicism. But I recommend both of those a lot because they are good again in helping kind of clear some of the mud that we've all been wading through for the past decades and everything. And good stuff. And again, of course, top of my list that I recommend all of the time would definitely be, again, say it with me, kids, Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art. That has to be, I mean, I've got 2 copies sitting here right now that I haven't, because I've given away a lot more, because that one is just one of those that's like, man, you talk about something that shifts everything. So it only hurts when I laugh, from Stan Freberg. I'll have to check that out sometime. I really will. Yeah, I think you need to go back to the doctor. No, you should not be getting worse with medication there, Thomas. So you get your butt to the doctor today. You can do that. And the rest of you too. Don't just send your butt. It may get lost. But anyway, but I recommend these books as we go into, again, into the new year, and you get all of the traditional habit stuff that they push, as far as setting the resolutions and buying the things that are going to make the resolutions come true that simply aren't true. And it's like to focus your mind on where, the steps to get to the goal. That, it's so funny, in hindsight now, seeing how lost that is, that whole idea of you got to take steps to get there. I don't know. It's weird. And again, I did it. So, I mean, I got caught up in that for a very, very, very long time, and not thinking about the steps, just thinking about the end result. And thinking about the steps is it. It's like with the title of the show this morning, or the topic title of the show this morning, being that consistency beats inspiration. When I first put all that together and had it all scheduled out so I'd be able to just sit down and hit go, and here we are. Um, I didn't know how much I was actually going to get done today because it's just not feeling great, right? But I got a lot done. Anyway, but the thing is, though, is in doing this 8 a.m. coffee talk every morning, again, it's beaten a consistency thing back into me that I had lost sight of. Um, to where I'm a slave to the clock again, and I'm dedicated to it. Man, am I. But now I'm going to start adding a little bit more structure to things. Not this, not this. I want this to still just be free flowing. But as we go, I mean, Lord willing, like I say, everything came together nice this morning. But I see here's that damn sinus thing just popping up out of nowhere. But as we go into the new year, I've actually, for my 3 pillars, I'm going to create 3 separate shows, if you will. I still use old school vernacular, um, to push them, because again, you got to promote. If you want anything to get out to the world, you got to promote it. Period. But I want to do it in a way that I find interesting and entertaining. Hopefully, that yeah, there you go. I mean, that's great. A simple system: make a plan, then execute it one shit at a time. I got you. Um, but I don't know. It's just I have the opportunity at 52 years of age on this planet, to understand that I truly don't know jack. And by that, I mean what it means. It's like you think you got it all figured out, and then you find out, well, maybe not. Some things, yes, you picked up some skills along the way that are absolutes. You're like, I know how to do this. This is cool. But as far as what to do with them, that could be up for debate a lot. And so, yeah, I mean, I figured by this time in life, I wasn't even sure if I was still going to be on the planet because I ran hard, fast, and furious, right? No regrets. But in all of that, I mean, I had mapped out, I had sat down and I had set down my goals, what I was going to do. And in many instances, I came close, but no cigar on certain things. I had, when I first got into broadcasting way back then, anyway, I set out with a goal of ownership. I wanted to own a station. Again, different time, different perspective. Most people have no concept of that as far as like owning a radio station. But that was on my list. And why did I want to do that? Well, A lot of it had to do with the programming concepts I had. It was very, well, I'm not going to say it was, no, it was difficult. Like, it was difficult to sell my ideas to people who wanted to hire me, or I wanted them to hire me to do what everyone else was doing. Well, I wanted to break away from what everyone else was doing because in a lot of ways it was kind of boring, and other ways is, well, hell, you got to push a little harder, right? Do a little different, do a little more interesting, better, or whatever. Um, and I thought ownership would allow me to do that. The closest I had came back then was actually when I went to Oklahoma, because I was actually part of the deal when I agreed. And I told you the story about the Talk FM there in Little Rock, and when I accepted the offer as morning man and program director out there in Oklahoma. Part of the agreement, because the money was crap, was that in 6 months, if I accomplished what I said I could accomplish when it came to ratings there, and in turn building the sales up, not doing sales, but being the programming guy who would make it easier for the sales department to do their thing, then I would be able to start buying into the station. Well, first quarter, we were making a lot of progress, right? Because again, I was everywhere all the time, and everybody started to know who the station was and who I was, right? And then by the second quarter, that 6 month mark, I'd done it. I had shown up in a book where we weren't supposed to be, right? And that was kind of a big deal. But then they're like, well, we'd like to, but we've got this. I'd tell you that story, but I don't really want to talk about it right now. But anyway, I'd found out about some of the problems ownership had of a personal nature. They weren't professional, but they were the personal nature that definitely impacted the professional. That's a story for another day. Anyway, and I was a little miffed. Again, I was a young guy. It was 96. So I guess I was 22. I hadn't turned 23 yet. But I was 22. So 22-year-old Jim was definitely a lot more aggressive. I'll leave it at that. But anyway, so the uh, the third quarter came around, 9 month, everything was tracking high. We were rocking, man. It's like I've told the story a million and one times, if but back in those days, we still used carts, looked like 8-track tapes. Well, and that's what we put commercials on. We had to put new racks in for all the new carts that went in because the sales department was doing very, very well because of what we were doing with programming. Okay. I cannot take all the credit for that, but in a lot of ways I can't because, well, I changed things. And I'm proud of that. I did good. And whenever you're having to put in new cart racks to put in more commercials, that's a good sign. But that third quarter, 9 month mark came across, and once again, I got the same damn story. And I'm like, okay, all right. Well, at that point, I was just too vested. And I didn't, because now prior, I had no problem just grabbing my bag in my head and walking out the door. But at that point, I was like, no, no, I'm gonna stick this one out. So when we got to the 12-month mark, fourth quarter, and everything had maintained, sustained, everything was great. I'd held up my end of the bargain, and they once again didn't. And so at that point, it was a Friday. I had to fill in for the sports guy who wasn't there to do a football broadcast, which I loathe doing, by the way. I don't care to engineer them at studio, and I definitely did not care to do them on air ever. That's why if I ever have my choice, I don't. And I'll never have to do it again in my life. But anyways, I did that. I packed everything up, took it back to the station, got everything put away nice and neat, locked it up, and drove straight back to Arkansas. I was done. Got home. I've been running hard, fast, and furious. There's a funny little story. When I showed up that Saturday morning, and it was so funny. I got to my mom and dad's, and I walked in the door, and I said, they're like, what are you doing? I was like, I need a nap. And so I went and I laid down, and when I woke up and I walked into the kitchen, and I was like, damn, what time is it? Rubbing my eyes and such. And my dad said, Tuesday. I had slept the whole damn weekend through. I had been running hard, man. And so that's a true story. But then by that Thursday, the general manager, sales manager, had tracked down my parents' number and was begging me to come back. And I thought about it for a second, but I had to stand on my laurels on that one. What was the purpose of that, Jim? That's why I wanted to own a radio station. But from that point forward, I didn't. I really didn't. And then never even entertained the idea again until 2016 ish, 17, off in there. Anyway, with the television station here, we started talking about that, about as far as me acquiring it. And that was just crap. It really was because uh, it, it was the tactics of a narcissist is the best way I can tell you, because I was getting frustrated and not happy with what was happening or not happening that should have been happening, but I didn't have the final say. So we started dancing around the idea of me purchasing the station, and we came to an agreement. Everything seemed to be well. And I'm like, okay. So I started moving on that. And as going to be an owner of things, and I started talking to people, and I started seeing, talking to and getting and acquiring new clients on the line. They were like, okay, now we'll do it. They didn't want to do it with the other guy, but they were cool doing it with me. Only to go about 2 weeks into this thing, and then he walked in the station and said, did you hear I was selling the station? I said, yeah, to me. He went, huh. And that all went away right then and there. Needless to say, that was another contentious moment over there. And then along comes 2020, and at the beginning of the year, we talked again, and an offer was made to me for a stupid amount of money, because you can't sell me something when I know what it's worth for more than it is. So anyway, that number was put on the table. I'm like, no, I know, because I know it's not even worth a third of that, especially if I'm not the one doing it, knuckle nuts. And anyway, that was funny, and I stuck around just to help out because again, I kept the damn thing on the air, only to find out by August that it did get sold for literally a third of what it was being offered to me for. Wasn't terribly thrilled with that, but that's okay. It's no longer my problem or anything. But it just goes to show, and I say all this and I share these stories only because it just goes to show at different stages and phases in life, you think you want something, but you don't necessarily do. You set a goal, but if you don't have the steps in place, it can get a little wonky on you, you know? Anyway, that's just kind of my thinking about the future things. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right. When all you see is crap, keep looking for the pony. That is a fantastic, fantastic way to reframe things. If all you see is crap, just keep looking for the pony because it's got to be here somewhere. But yeah, it's funny. I don't know. Yeah, but it's been an interesting ride. I have no complaints on this life when it comes to the overall of things because, dude, again, I came into this relationship in this town with Alicia and walked in with a duffel bag. That's about it. And built everything up from scratch. I can't complain. And I don't. I really don't. Sure, there's been things that have sucked. But you know what? Nah, man. If you don't expect and understand that the suck happens, we got to talk about that because it does. I mean, you don't when you come to the realization that you have no control over what other human beings do, personally, professionally, or any other way, and the most you can do is hope for the best and go for trust, and go with trust. I mean, it makes the adventure fun. I mean, hell, if you could clear cut everything, how much fun would it be if you were the baseball player who hit a home run every time or pitched a perfect inning, or the footballer who ran a touchdown every time they got the ball in their hands, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It would take a lot of the thrill and the fun of the game out, right? And that's the way life works. If you don't have a couple of those things to knock you down, which suck tremendously, and who really wants that to happen? But again, in hindsight, and the older you get and the more you see those things, they make for great stories and great experiences. Yeah. You know what Gar is talking about here? That the dementia is the thing that may be keeping him from only seeing the good and washing away the bad. You know what? That would be the best form of dementia to have. I was like, I pooped my. No, I didn't. What is that? I don't know. I was another Gar. I'm like channeling you this way. I feel like I'm doing a horrible horror thing right now. And that's not a bad thing at all. At all. And that's why I didn't get a chance to tune in Saturday night because we were there at Silver Dollar City, and it was warm, very, very warm. It was actually a really good night to be out there because when we've gone in the past to see the Christmas displays, it's been cold, and that's not as much fun. Sure, it's festive and it feels like the season, but no, I'd rather have that Hawaiian Malakaliki Maka type of Christmas holiday because it's more comfortable for sure. Looking at the wall, 20 away from the 9 o'clock hour, it is still cold, and it doesn't matter if you're here in the 72601 or the 65616, this region in which I dwell. But that's okay. It's normal-ish. Yeah. Yep. I'm gonna have to call. I'm gonna make some call. Yeah, do it. You can do it. I am glad you showed up, Thomas. We got to get together for dinner again very, 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 very soon. Once you're not going to infect the masses. But no, you're going to be fine, buddy. You take it easy. You get to the doctor. Give Heather a big old hug, maybe a smooch. I don't know. And Kyle too. Don't smooch him though. We know things. But anyway. Oh my gosh. So now, but yeah, I'm going to roll out. I got to get some things. I've got a lot of really great forward momentum going on. And again, things are starting to feel not quite right. So let's step away. Go have a great day. Don't forget, clear out your closet next 29th, 30th, 31st. Get everything done. That way, when you go into this brand new, shiny new year, you're in the rest of the week. But your closet's cleaned out. So anyway, do that. We'll talk again in the morning. I'm going to hit this magical button that'll let everything buffer out properly, even though we have video staggers and stutters and junk and stuff. Anyway, have a great one, gang, and we'll be talking about more fun stuff in the morning, 8 o'clock. Lord willing, the creeks don't rise, and everything keeps working technically.